So, this week's Torah portion, and of course the word Torah comes from the word Hora'ah, which means life lesson, is the most important life lesson that exists. In fact, it's the summary of everything. And it's summarized really in two words. God says to Abraham, Lech Lecha. Now we all know that God told Abraham, leave the land of Haran, go to the land that I will show you. But the word that he uses doesn't make any sense because he says, Lech, go, lecha, to yourself. So how do you go to yourself? Now, the very famous commentator Rashi, the primary commentator, says that what God was saying is, I am going to reveal to you who you are. In fact, I will reveal to the world who you are. So I don't understand. Do I not know myself? Do I need God to tell me who I am? And why do I have to go from one place to another place to get to know myself? Why can't I just be where I am to get to know myself? So actually, the way we are, God says, is me'artzecha. Artzecha means from your country. We develop identities. If you asked an American, are you an American? Absolutely, I'm an American. Well, how do you define an American? What is the definition of an American? So let's say the definition of American is somebody that believes in liberty. I'm an American, I believe in liberty. Fine. You ask the same person that was born in China, are you a Chinese person? He says, absolutely, I'm a Chinese person. What do Chinese be? I don't know what they believe in, but whatever it is. So are you really an American? Or do you happen to assume because you were born there that you're American? Meiladitecha means we all have natural traits. For example, one of my traits is a trait of laziness. I remember when I was younger, I used to say, no pain, no gain. Or no gain. I forgot what it was. But basically, the idea was, I don't care if I don't gain, as long as I'm just, comfortable. Now, that's a lazy attitude. That is there are four, I don't want to go into it, I write about it in the 6th chapter of my book, but earth, air, fire, water, different personality types. Some people kind of prone to anger and arrogance, others to laziness, others to pleasure, and last but not least, others to fun. So be that as it may, so a person can say, oh, that's who I am. Really? Is that who you are? Is that who you want to be? You ask a drug addict, he's taking drugs, he's giving his life for drugs. Do you want to be on drugs? No. So the fact that you have an addiction, the body has a desire to pleasure from something, doesn't define you if you don't even want it. And last but not least, beis avicha, from your father's home. And this is very interesting because another part of identity, if you would ask me, who are you? I would say, well, definitely a Weinberg. That's my last name. And what do Weinbergs do? Well, Weinbergs, let's say, we're into the study of the Torah. Very nice. But if you were born in a different family, with a different last name, with a different value system, would you be different? The answer is, of course you would. So these are superimposed identity. How you see yourself based on your father's identity, based on your country's identity, and even based on your instincts. There's this crazy thing where people are making identity. Oh, I'm gay. What, because you have some kind of predilection that makes you that? I mean, if I like chicken, am I a chicken? So it doesn't define me based on my instincts. In fact, if I define myself based on my instincts, I limit myself based on that definition. I'm stuck in that definition. And so therefore, in order to get out of that definition, you have to go El Ha'aretz, to the desire Asher Reka, that I will show you. Those are superimposed desires. Your soul is infinite. It has this infinite capacity like God. And what happens to be, it came into a specific body that might have produced a certain identity, but those identities are superimposed. So the person you really think you are, that you built this identity around, they say we build our identity by the age of 2, that is not who you are. That is the superimposed identity which you need to get out of to become your infinite potential. Now, the only way you get beyond the finite, these are very, very profound identities. I mean, just think about how many people see themselves as countrymen of their country, how many people see themselves as, belonging to the family that they come from, and how many people see their instincts as being who they are. So in order to get beyond self, you have to go to God's will. And we've discussed many times how to get to God's will. Obviously, there's the general concept of the Bible, the Torah, there's 630 mitzvahs for the Jews, 7 for the Gentiles. And there's also the concept of asking a rabbi, particularly schooled in Jewish mysticism, and then God's advice sort of comes through. And then there's even asking God directly. You can ask God, and the first thought that comes to you is God's advice. However, unless you're willing, like Abraham, to go beyond your current consciousness, your current identity, and to blindly follow, because if you understand it, it's limited based on your understanding, because if you don't understand it, you're not going to do it. So if you're willing to, with faith, trust that God is good and God is true, that's why God said, everything good will come from this. Nothing bad will happen if you listen to me. If you listen to me, good things will happen. If you're willing to do that, then you begin to enter into the infinite growth paradigm.